Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to LDOT. In today's episode, we'll be unboxing and reviewing the TP-Link Deco M5 Mesh Wi-Fi system. If you're watching this episode, then you're probably experiencing slow connection speeds, have some dead zones throughout your home, or even having some Wi-Fi coverage issues throughout your home. If you agreed with any of that, then this episode is definitely for you. Today's episode, what we'll be doing is unboxing and reviewing this bad boy over here. Then we'll follow with a quick explanation of what mesh Wi-Fi is and how different it is from traditional Wi-Fi. And lastly, just share some pros and cons on what mesh Wi-Fi is. If you're happy and interested in any of that, then stick around. As you can see, I ordered the product from Amazon. The ordering and delivery of the product was quite seamless and straightforward. So shout out to Amazon for that. Now normally, the package would only have the Deco M5 box inside. The reason you're seeing two boxes is because I added some wall mounts, as I would like my access points to hang as high as possible. You'll get to see the wall mounts later as I unbox them. But firstly, let's kick off with a view of what is included inside the Deco M5 package. It's a typical slick design box with some basic information around the product. Things like how the product is a Wi-Fi dead zone killer, basic specifications on the product, as well as how many items you can expect in the box, and lastly some details on how to set up the TP-Link amp on your phone. The back of the box shows you how to best connect the 3 nodes in a 2-story house setup. And there's also information around the box which essentially starts to repeat, so I'm not going to focus too much on that. Let's just get straight into what's inside the box. At this stage, I was super impressed by the packaging, which is light, slick, modern and sexy. As you can see, this is a 3 nodes package. I think Deco also sells a 2 nodes package. It all depends on the size of your home. Each node has 1 power point as well as 2 RJ45 Ethernet slots for the LAN cables. All 3 nodes are basically the same, right? The package comes with a nice free LAN cable for connecting the main Deco. That'll be connecting to your router or modem. At the bottom of the package, what you can find is 3 power adapters. One thing I want to emphasize here is that these are US adapters, so you will need to purchase a US to Euro adapter if you are outside of the US. Let's have a look at what the wall mounts are purchased as well as what they look like. It's pretty straightforward. As you can see, it's a solid, sturdy plastic with a modern look and design. These are dope. I like them. I like them a lot. They're super efficient also with cable management, as you could see in the intro video. So yeah, that's essentially the wall mount. It's quite straightforward. Nothing much to say here. Now the best way to explain mesh Wi-Fi is in comparison to a traditional router. Now let's have a look at mesh Wi-Fi versus traditional router. Let's kick off with a view at the Wi-Fi signal. With a traditional router, the Wi-Fi signal is essentially broadcast from a single point. Obviously, right? It's broadcast from that specific router. In comparison to mesh Wi-Fi, the signal will be coming from multiple access points. The other units will capture and rebroadcast the router signal and thus result in an efficient wireless network that provides a strong signal no matter where you are in the home, right? Having a look at Wi-Fi range. For a traditional router, the Wi-Fi range obviously has a limited range. The further you are from the router, the weaker the connection will be. Let's compare that with the mesh Wi-Fi. Now the mesh, the multiple nodes will extend the Wi-Fi range throughout the house, right? So as I mentioned earlier on, now you have multiple points that are extending the Wi-Fi signal, therefore increasing the range throughout the house. Let's have a look at the setup. For setup, a traditional router has quite a complicated configuration. Now, for a regular user without any IT or networking experience, configuring multiple routers to try and extend your Wi-Fi range throughout the house could be somewhat complicated. It'll basically be a nightmare, to be honest, a serious nightmare. So it's quite complicated. In comparison to Mesh Wi-Fi, Mesh Wi-Fi comes with an easy network setup and management. What you mostly need is to follow the prompts on the TP-Link app installed on your phone, as shown earlier on. And I think even your grandmother would be able to set it up, as I said earlier on. It's pretty simple. Having a look at the Wi-Fi range extender, the problem with Wi-Fi range extender, right, is that it'll sacrifice the speed of your connectivity. What do I mean by that? If, for example, you have a 100 meg line, which can be achieved from the router, a Wi-Fi range extender could decrease your 100 meg line by up to half or less than 50%. You could end up with a Wi-Fi range that's extended to less than 20 megs, depending on how far or how close it is to the extender. Now, if I think about the pros and cons of the TP-Link Mesh Wi-Fi system in comparison to its other competitors and stuff, I think the following for me stand out essentially. I'll kick off with the positives, the pros, to say for me the first one is cost, right? The system is way more affordable in comparison to its competitor devices. So the second one there I would highlight is ease of use and setup. As I mentioned, it's quite straightforward and not complicated. You can get the job done quickly. The next one I would highlight is the design. I like the design of it, as I mentioned earlier on. The design is slick, it's modern, it will fit in with any other household as part of the decor in the household. And then lastly, one thing I would highlight there is the variety of features that it has. So some of the features that we could see is the antivirus feature that is available on the app. So you could essentially, when you're browsing your sites or you're browsing, you're able to identify any malicious websites or any possible malware that you're possibly downloading. There's some very cool parental controls to essentially monitor any activity that your kids are doing, or anybody that's not an adult in your household. You're able to monitor that and put in some controls to essentially block funny sites, if you know what I mean. You have the ability to blacklist devices, for example, on your home or on your home network. If you identify any strange device that is unidentified, you can essentially block it by the MAC address, which is pretty cool. I like that. You can get notification whenever a new device connects to your Wi-Fi. So, I mean, that linked with the ability to blacklist is also a pretty cool feature to have, in my opinion. There's an option for network optimization. This is obviously in a situation when essentially your network is not doing so great, or your connection is not so great. You're able to essentially hit the network optimization button, and it'll see where the issues are and essentially sort that out for you. And yeah, as I mentioned, there's a number of additional other features which once you've got the app on your phone, you can essentially play around with it. So for me, from the positive and the pros, those are the things I would highlight. On the not so great part or the cons, I can only give one criticism in here, and that is there isn't an intuitive way to determine the best location for your different nodes. By that I mean, once I have the first node connected to the main router, you have to sort of figure it out what's the best place in your home to connect the other devices. It would be nice if there was a functionality on the app where it can tell you that you've gone too far, or it's still too close, you can take it further, or the location is not best, something like that. I mean, that's something for TP-Link to consider. But yeah, if you have any other pros and cons that you like to share, if you've played around with the app, please do so and drop them in the comments below. So yes, to sum it up, guys, I feel like the Deco M5 system is quite great. I personally quite like it, mostly because of the following reason. It's super easy to set up. I mean, even your grandmother could set it up. Secondly, the design, the design is quite modern, simplistic. That's always good. And lastly, which is most important, the cost comparison in comparison to its competitor devices is also relatively low, which is always great. So overall, it gets a thumbs up from us here at LDOT. If you enjoy this episode and you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.